I now want to welcome our friend Hugo Furtado. And Hugo, how is it there in Austria? Originally, though, you're from Portugal, and now you're in Austria, and you decided to do a wonderful thing for the blind and introduce an app called the Wave Out. First, though, tell us a little bit about yourself, how it is in Austria there. Are you guys getting cold, or you going into the Alps? Or are the Alps in Australia? I'm in Australia, Austria. Where are the Alps mountains located? I don't know too much about my European geography.
Yeah, no, you're just about right. I mean, we do have the Alps here, not really in Vienna. I'm in Vienna now, so the Alps, let's say, are almost ending in Vienna. It's like they're really getting smaller and smaller until the west of Vienna. Actually, we have wonderful weather for what we typically have. It's like today is raining, but the whole week was super sunny and between 15 and 20 degrees Celsius. So that was great. That was great. So for a Portuguese, still not too much, but still quite nice. It was a nice week.
Great. So
Yeah,
we,
we had that too. We had a lovely week
sorry,
until yesterday.
Can you say that again?
We had that too. We had a lovely week until, well, yesterday, today. Last couple of days it started raining, but before that we had lots of sunshine as well.
Yeah, really great.
And so, Mr. Furtado, let's now talk about Waveout. That's Waveout. How did you come across the name Waveout, or what led you to choosing this Waveout? And first of all, though, go ahead and talk to us about Waveout, what it is. What is Waveout? Someone may be wondering what in the world is Waveout, and then you can tell us as to how you come about the name Waveout.
Okay. So Waveout is a navigation app. Let's just say like normal map app, but with a very special thing. It guides you anywhere you want to go, just using sound. And by that I mean not with audio instructions, but we use spatial audio. So we use really audio augmented reality to create a sound that seems to come from the place you need to go to. So all you are going to hear is a sound somewhere, and you understand the direction of that sound, and you can just follow it to get to your destination. So what we do, we take a path that's created in the navigation, like any normal navigation. You type a destination, there's a path. We convert that path into waypoints that are connected to the world, and then you hear these waypoints. You hear one by one, and you follow them. So that's more or less the basic concept: to be guided, always having a sound to guide you where you have to go. No voice, it's just a small drumming. About the name, so actually the name comes from the name of the company. The company is called Dreamwaves. The name Dreamwaves it was not easy to find, like any name, I guess, I don't know. But the idea is because it was going to be an augmented reality, so something that does not exist in the real world, that we are embedding in the real world. So the word dream comes from that. It's like some content that does not really exist, and waves because of the sound waves. So the idea would be a connection really with the audio augmented reality. And Wave Out, we wanted to have a product name that's not the company name, because at some point we wanted to get into the indoor navigation too. That was actually our initial idea, was indoor navigation. So the idea would be to have a Wave Out for outdoor navigation, a Wave In for indoor navigation, and so on. So that's it, more or less.
How does it work in terms of navigation when I'm walking around, especially if it's busy, I tend not to want to wear two headphones. Sometimes I'll have one.
Yeah.
Because then I can't hear what's going on around me. So
Sure.
what would your suggestion be for that, to be able to hear this sort of targeted audio? Because obviously you need stereo headsets of some kind to hear that stuff. So what do people do? How does that work?
Yeah, we recommend, or what we also see people doing, is to use open headphones. So there are a bunch of models out there. I mean, an example are bone conducting headphones. So headphones that do not block your ears, because of course you wouldn't want to use the two. You do need the two to get the spatial audio. So spatial audio is even beyond stereo. It really creates it. You can hear sounds on top of you, or to the side with height too. But you should use, of course, headphones that leave your ears unblocked so you can hear the world around you. There are a bunch of models out there. I don't know, from Bose, from Sony, have as a new interesting model. They are the bone conducting, and there are more and more coming, which I feel is very, very interesting development, especially for blind and visually impaired people.
Are there other ones apart from the bone conduction ones? Because I tried one brand of them, and they just gave me a big, massive headache in the end, just because they squashed my head. I didn't like it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's very personal. I also don't like them, to be very honest. I tried a couple of models, and I also don't like them. I also feel my face vibrate. I don't really like that.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I know people that have no problem. I don't like them too much. They are the Bose frames. They are sunglasses, actually.
Oh, but so they don't squash your head so much.
No. It just feels like normal glasses, and the sound quality is pretty good, and you can use it with the app. We normally do testing with these because they are very, very easy to put on. And they're really just like glasses. There's also a company here in Austria called Fauna that has glasses too. There is Sony had a model before called In-Ear. No, how is it? What In-Ear Duo? Something like that. The name was a little bit weird. So they were in-ear or earphones, but they were a ring. So basically, you put it inside of your ear, but the sound was still coming from the outside. And now they have link buds, it's the new model from Sony, which is also pretty interesting. Again, you put it inside of your ear, but it's a ring, so you keep hearing everything from the outside.
So it doesn't block everything.
No, it doesn't block. And that's I used to wear these things when I was on video calls because it's much more natural to call without your ears blocked also. So,
and most earbuds these days do have, even if they're completely like noise canceling, they do have an ambient mode or a pass-through mode.
Mm-hmm.
I know the AirPods have some people say that has the best ambient mode. Like it really sounds like nothing's in your ears when you have that turned on. So that's also an option if you have like a higher end pair of earbuds, or even headphones like the AirPods Max, or like the XM4s. I wouldn't recommend like the XM4s as the pass-through mode on that, but a lot of earbuds do have a really decent pass-through mode that you can still hear what's going on around you.
Yeah, I have the XM3s, and the with the XM3s, the pass-through mode is sort of in mono. You don't hear whether something's on your left or on your right or something, which would not be good for navigation, because you need to hear where the traffic's coming from and things like that. Maybe the Apple ones are better, but I wouldn't recommend the Sony ones.
Yeah, I think the best bet is to get the Sony Link Buds, not the Link Buds S, but the original Link Buds with the ones he mentioned with the hole in them, or the Galaxy Buds Live, or even the original AirPods. They are kind of an open design, so there are a lot of different options if you still want to be able to hear what's going on around you. I have a question about the audio. So it's better with spatial audio, but it's not a requirement. Is it you could use this with any stereo headphones?
Well, you can use any headphones to implement the spatial audio. The spatial audio is a software technique, so any headphone model will work. Yeah, that's
cool. So it's not a specific feature that a headset has to support.
No. What you see now coming up, and headphone manufacturers talk about how their headphones are spatial audio enabled. It would be more connected, as far as I see, with the headphones having sensors, and when you move your head, then you can keep track of where your head is looking at, and it makes the spatial audio more realistic. But as far as it goes to implement the spatial audio for you to hear, you can use any headphone model out there. It's just a technique to convert the mono sound into a sound coming from somewhere in space, given your relative position to your head. So,
okay, awesome.
Let's talk about some of its requirements, Hugo. Would that be something that one has to have a certain version of Android? What's the requirement?
Yeah, the requirement is to have an Android phone that is compatible with AR Core. So AR Core is a library to implement augmented reality. So it's basically to help you have know where the phone is, or how the phone is moving in a very, very precise way. And this is one of the requirements that the phone needs to have. There's a list of models on a Google developer website, and even so, not all of the phones really work. Not all of the phones on that list work. This is our experience, and I mean, we had some interaction also with you guys and with other people. So it's not there is not a definite list that works. Most of the newer models work, but the basic requirement is to be compatible with this Google library. It's a library that comes from Google, ARCore.
But if somebody said to you as a rough guide, what version at least of Android must I have? What would you say?
It's not really connected with the Android version. I mean, it's really more the phone model. It's connected with, I guess, the hardware. This is a Google decision, actually, which yeah, it's not connected with us. So we use the ARCore library to implement our localization algorithms. This will change in the future, by the way, because right now this ARCore library is connected with the phone's camera, and the phone camera is always on. What we are working right now, and maybe we'll go into more detail later on, but we are working right now on keeping your phone in your pocket, and then we will not be dependent on the ARCore library. So actually that restriction in terms of phones will disappear.
Because I was just going to ask you about that whole camera thing, because I don't want to walk around holding my phone and basically shouting, "Steal me, steal me."
Sure, yes.
I don't want to do that. I want my phone in my pocket. If I can't put my phone in my pocket, a navigation app isn't much use.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're blind, you can't see if someone's looking at your phone and wants to come and take it out of your hand and steal it from you. That's quite a consideration, I think, that's quite important, because of course a lot of us will have a cane or a guide dog in the other hand, and that'll also mean we can't carry anything because our hands aren't free, because we've got a phone in one hand and a cane, or whichever mobility aid type we use, then it's in the other hand. I hope that you get the pocket technology soon, because that's the moment I would actually try the app. Until then, I wouldn't, because my phone is too valuable to me. I don't want that to be stolen. I live in London, people
Sure.
people are, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good people about, but there are some bad people about, and
I hear you. Yeah.
Too much of a temptation for some people.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean, and coming from Lisbon, as you said, I mean, most people are good people, but you need to be careful. It's this. There's some criminality. You need to be careful. You don't want to have your phone out like that. In Vienna, it's not like this, fortunately, and then it is possible for people to go with a lanyard and have the phone hanging, still have their hands free and go around. But it was more like we always knew that this is not the best way, but it was the possible way. But fortunately, we could develop to the point. I mean, there are some recent techniques, and this is like some machine learning techniques that we are now using to have the same results in terms of localization or phone motion. It's more about phone motion that we would get with this ARCore library or with the ARKit library from Apple. That we can get that without using the camera, and we are very, very happy to have that, because we know. I mean, I know about what you're just saying. It's about convenience, keeping the phone in the pocket. It is about also security and making sure that your valuables are not stolen. So we now have already a prototype version that is not integrated in the app yet, but I hope that we can do that really soon. And we have something working already right now in like our internal version. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we can be fast with that.
Oh, that would be good, because the other thing is I don't even want my phone on a lanyard. I've had heavy-ish things on a lanyard before, and they just keep bashing you in the body all the time. That's not very nice.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's in a way I would tend to feel that what we have done so far is a prototype
Yeah.
that we can really see, well, this is useful. When this works well, it's really nice. We have been testing with a lot of people and doing like more formal testing, more informal testing, and we see when it works well, it's really, really nice. But we know about this is a heavy usability issue, and we knew that at some point we had to find another solution, and I'm happy that now we found a way to do that. So yeah.
If it's using the camera at the moment, what happens at night time?
It's not too good.
Ah,
At
so
nighttime,
that's another reason you want to
it's
change the
not,
technology
yeah,
then.
of course. It's not, I have to say, it's not that bad, but it becomes much more unstable.
Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you'd have certainly on my walk home, for example. I mean, I wouldn't need it because I know how to walk home. I've lived here 8 years, but um, on my walk home, just as an example, there are street lights and then there are gaps in between them. So that might be a bit confusing to such software because it'd be brighter and then it wouldn't be, and then yeah.
Sure thing. Yes, it's not. We use several things with the camera, but for this relative motion. So what we do with these libraries from Google or Apple is to really measure the relative motion. We also use GPS, and we actually then combine the two. For the relative motion still works at night, but it is really more unreliable. So what you would experience are jumps and sudden jumps, and so this would make the experience a little bit more confusing, or sometimes quite more confusing. So it's not like very good at night. I would not say it's good to use it at night.
So what happens? What made you want to make this program? Because it sounds like, especially when you've got the pocket mode, as I'm going to call it, I don't know what you'll call it, when you've got it so that it doesn't have to use the camera, it sounds like it's going to be a really amazing app. So gave you an idea to create this?
I hope you're right. It's nice to hear you say it's going to be an amazing app. We hope so too. Actually, it was really a technology finds problem thing. I worked with augmented reality, visual augmented reality since 2006. I started the PhD in the medical field. So I was doing visualization of catheters inside the body for minimally invasive cardiac surgery. So cardiac surgery where you don't open the chest. And we were using this augmented reality to help surgeons place a catheter inside the patient and see that catheter at all times. And back then I fell in love with how you can use this digital content connected with the real world object or person to help you do a task that's very complex, to help you do that in a very easy way. We saw how something that was really extremely complex and needed a lot of training could be done by people that had no training. I mean, we did not test on people, but when we test in our mock-ups, we had like real aortas. You could have really people placing these catheters in a very, very easy way, which was amazing. And the other thing that made this happen was that I'm a big audio fan. I'm like a big music lover. I listen to music since I'm a very, very, very small kid. Then I had a home studio, and I like sound design. I did sound design for photography, for short films, and so on. And at some point, I thought, oh, why not? I would really like to work on the combination of both augmented reality and audio. And the first thing that came to mind as a use case would be navigation. Because it is a challenge, not only for blind people, of course. For blind people is much more of a challenge. But then this also, when I thought about navigation and making it easier, the blind and visually impaired was the group which I felt was the group that could benefit the most right from the beginning. So then I started like talking to a lot of people, meeting a lot of blind people, asking people what are the real problems, just to understand, and it developed like that.
Thank you so much for that explanation, because, I had sent an email on our group because I was a little bit concerned about that camera use and all of that, because, what that also does is that it will drain one's battery real quick, right? If I have to keep my camera on and all of that. But I'm glad though that you are working on this, and I'm looking forward to when this becomes something that's available to all. Now, talking about availability, there are certain people on our email group, especially, I think we got someone from Bulgaria that Wave Out is not available in. Are you guys thinking about expanding, or are there problems with respect to expanding it to other countries? I mean, what countries are supported now at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, we did not, when we launched the app on the app stores. It's like both on the Android and the iOS store. We did not put any country restrictions. I was aware only for the first time that it didn't seem to be on the Bulgarian shop. Actually, one of our Android developers is from Bulgaria, and we have to discuss. I have to discuss. Still couldn't discuss with him about this. Yeah, he lives here in
his
Vienna.
own home country.
Yeah, he's here though, but he's from Bulgaria, and we. I know that there are a lot of glitches. I mean, I've been sitting sometimes with people, and they were searching the App Store with the exact search term "Wave Out" on the Play Store, and the app didn't show up, and I don't know why. So we are facing a bit of challenges in understanding how people can find it, or where it's really, really available or not. But yeah, the important thing is to know about this issue so we can go out and chase them. In principle, there's no country restriction. And also from the technology side, it's not really dependent on data sets that are connected to a specific geography. We use OpenStreetMaps for our mapping data. That's so we have as much coverage as that has, which is basically the whole world. But we need to understand these issues better. So, and feedback regarding it doesn't work here, can you tell me why, is always really good, because we can go out and look for it.
Wonderful.
Do you ever use as part of your technology the what 3 words system? Because I think that covers. Is that a worldwide thing now? I used it last year. No, it might have been 2 years ago now. I got lost in the park, and all the sighted people suddenly seemed to have disappeared, and I had no one to ask directions. I had to get the police to come and find me. That was an adventure. I went home in a police car, which was hilarious. But I used it to tell them roughly where I was, because in the park there weren't really roads as such. It was just like pathways, and I just wondered, would you ever use something like that, or do you already in the app?
We don't. I know about it. We don't use it, but I actually was in a conference, in an event, and met the guys from What 3 Words, because I would love to integrate it. I think it's a really nice way to tell about your location in a very, very simple way. And they do integrations with companies. So for us, it would be a question of engineering to put it in. It's a question of time and resources, because we have so many things we wanted to integrate the app. I was also talking with the guys from Be My Eyes, because you can also do integrations. We would love to do that, to have a Be My Eyes integration directly from the app. So you can do the long-term idea would be that the app would integrate these things that are already out there, that you can just connect and call everything up from one single app. So definitely that would be in our roadmap at some point.
Certainly for me, I'd say that What 3 Words would be more useful in the short term, in that Be My Eyes is very much dependent on whether there are volunteers available to speak to you at the time. Whereas What 3 Words works independent of any people, if you see what I mean. Like, obviously, I don't mean you wouldn't have to do work to make it work in the app. Of course you would. But I wouldn't have to phone somebody else who could then see me on a video call, and they wouldn't have to be available for What 3 Words to work. So certainly for me as a user, something like that would be much more attractive, because I sometimes have found that you can wait for over a minute for a volunteer to answer, or you can end up that they don't answer at all and it says try later or something. it's not as reliable just because it's volunteer run. Well, no, maybe not run by, but because the people answering your queries are volunteers, it really very much depends on whether they're available, whether they answer or not. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I understand what you say, and I agree with you. So if we were to prioritize one or the other, both are a matter of like putting some engineering time into integration. But what 3 words would be? It what you're saying, it would be more useful just because it would be more reliable, or it would just work out of the box without the need for the volunteer. And we know this. We know one of our team members is volunteer, and we know quite a bit about the Be My Eyes. But of course, you're dependent on whether there are people available or not. Yeah, we would love to put the what 3 words, and that's why we went out and talked to them. It's again, it's a matter of making it. We are now putting all the efforts that we can on the Pocket thing, because we really give priority to that. So yeah, and it's always, we have a million ideas and a million things we would love to do, and then the reality is always that everything takes time, and we have to be patient. It's difficult.
I just thought that might help with the Pocket thing, because I think the what 3 words squares are only a few meters each. So I just thought maybe that they might help each other as well, if you see what I'm saying. I don't know, though. I'm not an engineer, but it was just a thought I had, because I know that when I've mucked about with the what 3 words app, if I'm walking along, the words keep changing all the time.
Yeah.
So, and that's with the phone in my pocket. So it was just a thought I had that, would those work together nicely and make the Pocket thing work even better,
Yeah. Yeah, for localization wouldn't be, because we are talking about, I don't know which technology they use. I know that their squares are pretty narrow, but normally there are not a lot of people around that have 3-meter precision. Normally, most apps use GPS, and GPS, if you're in out in the open in a park, definitely you can get 3 meters or even less nowadays. But if you're in the city, it's very hard to get a meter. I mean, that's what we get sometimes, a meter accuracy, something between 3 meters and 1 meter. And it's very hard to do that with GPS only.
I know what you mean, especially when there are high buildings.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
You get the information and it doesn't change, and then suddenly it'll change.
Yeah.
Because you're not in the shadow of that building anymore or something. Because some of the buildings, especially in the it's not so bad around here where I live, but in the centre of London, where there's all these skyscrapers and things, it's, yeah, you have to, basically, I think knowing that, and it's one of the things that some of the navigation apps don't tell people always, but knowing that, okay, this might be a bit rubbish because you're in the middle of a load of buildings. Yeah. Part of using an app like that well is knowing those things. And I mean, I've found that, yes, they can get you near to a shop, but 3 or 4 or 5 even doorways, you need to still quite often ask somebody, is this the stationery shop or whatever, because it's never that exact, is it? It's never that. And loads of people go, I don't know, and it's very frustrating, because you sort of think,
yeah,
blimey, you've got eyes that work, could you just look, but they've usually gone by then. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is one of my findings. It's interesting because people don't realize how imprecise GPS can be. And whenever we say, we make it much more precise, because this is exactly our core one, or a big part of our core work, to make sure that even when GPS is not precise, that we use other techniques and computer vision, and now something which is not computer vision, to try to estimate your location to a much more precise degree. But sometimes you talk to people and say, no, but GPS is already 1 meter. So no way. It's not, especially in the city, as you say. London is especially bad sometimes in the center. The times I've been, and I was always trying and experimenting, it's like sometimes really off because of these high buildings and the reflections. So, but there's somehow general unawareness of how imprecise it can be. And then it's like you say, if you have eyes and you can just you just look around and you find the shop, because even if you're within 5 or 10 meters or 5 doors away, you can search and it's easy. But if you are blind, you can't. It's very hard. You have to ask, and yeah, that's exactly many times and in observations that we have done. So we have been with a lot of people, just as I said at the beginning, to try to really understand what are the actual challenges. And one of the things that you see is this last mile, or not even mile, this last few meters can be a huge problem. And in many apps, sometimes you're even across the street, but if you can't see which numbers are on that side, you don't know if you're across the street. So, and this can take a lot of time in the end, right? So that's one of the things that we see where the value could come, if you can really make sure that you're entering. We don't have this yet, but make sure that you're entering this to the street, which is just your destination, that you're going already on the right, along the right sidewalk, the correct sidewalk side, and that you're really taken to the door that you need as close as possible.
I am very happy to inform that the app works in India on the Play Store. I just checked. But so I have two questions. Is the app a paid app, and how is the indoor navigation going to work? Do people have to add some hardware to the building, or what is the plan of indoor navigation?
So the app is free now, and this is something that we are still figuring out. We initially had a thought of a freemium model. What we are doing as company right now is going business to business, meaning we are licensing our positioning technology and our spatial audio technology, and even the components, because we designed the user interface to be also accessible. So the idea is to license this to other companies that develop their own apps, if they want to make them accessible, if they want to make audio navigation for some other reason, and get our main revenue stream from there. And we don't have a definite plan yet for if and when the app will be paid. So for the time being, it's for free. So please just use it. We are really happy to get as much as feedback as possible. And for the indoor navigation, we only have prototypes. We don't have a product or something that you can say this is a product, but we don't use beacons. We do all indoor navigation only with computer vision. There, the phone really needs to be out. If the phone would be in the this is not completely true what I was going to say, but as it works now, it works really well. If you have your phone really out on your hands or on a lanyard, you can get a really nice positioning within the building. What we need to do is to map out the building. But nowadays, making a 3D map of a building can be done sometimes in a matter of hours. It depends. Then you have some post-processing and so on. But what we do is mapping a building, and then using only those there's visual data to guide you, to calculate your position and then to guide you. But we don't have a product. It's all just demos right now.
Something that I would have found useful, most of the time it's not a problem in London where I live now, but where I used to live, there were no announcements on the buses. So has anyone ever suggested to you yet about having a way of, knowing when you're getting near your bus stop, so that you can get off the bus in the right place? Because in London, most buses have announcements, but sometimes they don't work. And in many places, especially more rural places, there's no announcements at all. And if the driver doesn't remember to tell you, you can end up somewhere you don't want to be. I wonder if that's a use case that you've considered, or that anyone else wanted.
We definitely considered it, and we even had back in 2020 when we were in an incubator actually, which was related with public transportation, and we even implemented it in the app. What happened was to get the public transportation information, we used a service that ended up not being too reliable, so we just turned it off. It's there, but it's turned off, just because it worked well in Vienna, but it was not working well in other places, and then it was really a bit confusing. But the way how it worked was exactly like what you said. You would calculate the route from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. You'd get the pedestrian route with the audio navigation to the bus stop or the tram stop, and then you would jump on the tram. The mode would change to, I'm in the tram, but you'd get an announcement soon after you had to leave, because this is something that a lot of users talked about that they would like to have. In Vienna, you also have announcements, but in many places you don't. And this would be very useful. And we had it in, but we stopped it because we did not have the resources to go and look for another service and make it reliable and so on. I think we would need to grow a lot now as a company to implement all those things on top that are very useful, but we need quite some engineering effort to make them.
Okay, yeah, because there are so many bus stops and railway stations and things, I suppose, around the world, that it would take a long time, wouldn't it, to because it's not so much the timetable necessarily as the actual just, are we there yet kind of thing, when you're
Exactly.
actually on the bus,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
sounds like kids, isn't it? Are we there yet?
yeah, but it's a simple thing. Again, it's a simple thing, but it's really important, right? You really want to. I mean, it's really important. If you don't have that announcement, and if the bus driver doesn't remember you really want to know when to get out. Otherwise, you're going to be lost. Even one stop can make the difference, right? If you don't know the area, it will make a big difference. So.
Absolutely. Or if someone was going to meet you at a particular stop,
right,
and you got off in the wrong one, dear, it's a nightmare. So is there going to be some work on that again in the future? I mean, I guess 2020 wasn't a good time to be doing that either, because everyone suddenly went, actually, we're not going on buses at the moment.
It was a terrible time. I still remember those days. It was a crazy year. Yes, we did implement that prototype, and we tested it throughout 2021. I don't remember exactly when we discontinued it, but yeah, I mean, I think we were accepted in that incubator in February, and then in March, everything locked down here and everywhere. So yeah, no one was in the street or taking transports. No. Yeah, but I mean, this is something I would definitely like us to have. It's really gonna depend on how we as a company can grow. So what we would love to do is to go on and pursue this business to business model and grow in sales there. And at the same time, growing in sales to other companies can also mean that any other app could integrate this technology. It does not have to be our app. It can be an app made for blind people too that integrates this technology. There are several apps out there that are made for blind people, but only use GPS, so they could benefit from better positioning, better audio feedback on the way how you give directions. And what we would love to do is to give out these capabilities and these features as part of the platform, or even make our own app grow in that direction. So definitely, but it's really dependent on how the startup can grow. So we are now in a phase of fundraising. So we are ending a financing phase and ending we met our objectives that we needed to meet for this phase, but now we need more funds to make the next objectives and keep growing. And that's really dependent on how successful we are with that and how we can grow the team and allocate a couple of people to work on those features. But that's the plan. We would definitely like to start adding all those information layers. Back in the day, we also were playing a little bit about giving out information about which buses are now in front of you and things like that, which could also be something very interesting. But it's all a matter of, like, at every point in time, we need to select to work on the things that are more pressing, and we really need. The startup game is a game of making sure you really can prioritize.
And which things are easier to do more quickly as well, I suppose.
Also, that's true. I mean, this is sometimes you say, well, this has a low cost in terms of time, so we put it in. Yeah, but I have to say the one that we choose now, the main thing now is really the phone in the pocket. It's the main thing because we see it very strongly. That's where we put all our effort, and that one is not easy. But I think, and I mean, you also said it, and in a way, it's fairly obvious. This is can be a game changer, and I hope it will be.
Will the app tell me what street I'm on? Because I like to know that. I don't just want to say to this app, okay, give me directions to X place. I want to know what's around on the way there, maybe. Because that can sometimes be reassuring to me that if someone's given me directions and it tells me I'm in such a street, I'll go, oh, good, I'm still on the right track with the directions the person gave me as well. So will my phone read that out to me? Will it tell me what street I'm on? Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Sure thing. You have a small button that you can use to know where are you now. There's a small button on the top of the app, and you also have a tab in the bottom, so you can reach everything with VoiceOver, of course. So you can like go with your finger and go there. You have a tab. There's a tab called Around Me, and Around Me will list a couple of places that are around you, bakeries, coffee shops, so whatever points of
interest.
Will
that change as I walk forward? Yeah. Will those change? Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
And can I favorite places that I want to go back to? Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
You can save places. So each of those that are, for instance, in the Around Me, you can save. But you can also, if you type an address that you know you're going to have to go to, let's say you have a new doctor and you're going to have to go there a couple of times and you won't know the way for the first, I don't know, 10 times or more times. I don't know. Depends. You can definitely just save it and it stays on your save list. You can save routes too. You can also
brilliant. So I wouldn't have to start that all over again. I can just get it from last time. Oh, how fantastic.
Exactly. So if you save a route.
Amazing app. Wow. Yeah. I'm excited about this. When you get the pocket mode, I'm going to try it.
It is an interesting app, and frankly, I'm thankful for it and looking forward to that pocket mode because I think for a lot of people that would be the deterrent for not being able to have it in a pocket, like we had indicated earlier. You know, you have your can in the hand and all of that, and that was my main complaint about it. And I also want to talk about the integration of the Be My Eyes. I think it's a good thing to have that just in the event that someone needs some real eyes there for something. I think it comes in handy, and it kind of helps one from having to install an app for Be My Eyes. So I think it's a good idea to have that also integrated in there.
Yeah, cool to hear that. You know, when we started, one of the things that we felt when we were talking to everyone is that people tend to use a lot of apps, and that makes sense because there are many apps out there and each has a special focus. And of course, we can't create an app that does everything, but we saw how it was for many people a burden to keep changing app to do this, to know what's around you. You can, I don't know, you can use Blind Square, for instance, and you can then change to Be My Eyes if you really need a set of eyes to help you. And then you go to your navigation and so on. And what we felt we would like to be able to do is something that could be a more holistic app that could help you centralize everything. I know we're not going to re-implement Be My Eyes, but they do have a way to integrate, which would be really, really cool. And that's something we would love to do. So it's also nice to hear that. Yeah.
I love the way you've got so many ideas and that you're so open to integrating things. Because sometimes with some apps, it's like, well, we've got this, this, and this. If you don't like it, don't get our app. Sort of. They don't actually say that, but it feels a bit like that sometimes. Whereas talking to you, you've got so many ideas and things you want to do, and so much enthusiasm, and it's wonderful. It's brilliant.
It's cool to hear that. I mean, for me, to be very honest, I'm from a tech background, and when it's from a tech background, you like to build things and so on. I don't code much these days, or close to nothing. But for me, when I talking to people like you and talking to all the other people I've talked to, you are the drivers of the whole thing. You are the ones that can tell us what you need, not us. We can have good ideas, we can have bad ideas, but I think for me, I feel it's extremely important to listen and to do it together with you. We won't be able to implement everything, and normally there will be always a limit where a limit of customization and a limit of things you can put into an app where you're probably going to make it too generalistic. But I think it's of extreme importance to just have these conversations and to really listen and to really think about, okay, if people say they don't like this, then we shouldn't do it, and the other way around, of course.
I love that you're so into sound as well, because there are a lot of sighted people who just aren't. They're not that bothered because they're so busy looking. That's awesome. Yeah. And it's kind of awesome that you've gone, do you know what? I'll do something and I'll work with blind people. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to do something that hopefully can really help people. It's a big driver for me and for all the team, for all our team. It's one of the things that really gives us motivation. Yeah. So, yeah, it's cool.
Oh, Hugo, thank you so much for stopping by. And you know what? Let's have another date. If you get this Pocket thing going, would you be able to come back and talk with us once we have that in? Because I think that's going to be the most exciting part of the app, to being able to put it in the Pocket. So if you get that down to where it becomes available, would you be willing to come back to, BAU Blind Android Users podcast again, and let's talk about what has changed, and we will celebrate with you because that's a milestone. Would you be willing to come back and talk about that?
Sure thing. I will let you know as soon as it's ready, and then you can try it, and I would be glad to come and talk about it again. Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. And also, it would be great if you're able to come here for our 100th anniversary on that November 5th, because I'm sure there will be other users that would have some questions for you. So if you're able to, it's going to be the same time, even though we're going to be having these time changes, but it's still going to be 9 a.m. Pacific on November 5th. So if you're able to come to that party, to our Centurion celebration, I think that would be wonderful.
I'll try to do that. Would be great.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for joining us today. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the party, and then also when that Pocket mode becomes available. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you too. Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me. It was really cool.